There is something going on with these children of today that their behavior is so bad. We are in this classroom fighting behavior problems 100% of our time. Like most days, I just dread coming to work because I'm about to be a babysitter for the day. Like at my last school, a student full blown hit me. And the very next day, I got an email from my principal talking about what I could have done better. And not only that, I was forced to call the parents and apologize for the child's behavior. And then I just altogether stopped calling parents because whenever I would call parents, they would say, oh, just move their seat. All of these good teachers are leaving the profession because they're tired of coming to work and being a child wrangler. They're tired of coming to work and they're tired of being a babysitter, a therapist, and no learning is being done. But then when it's time for these reports and time for these numbers to pop up, they're being looked at as fraudulent because there's no growth in the classroom. Literally, my mental health is so bad when I come to work. It's me up at 4 a.m. in the morning, tossing and turning, not able to detach from work because I'm so miserable going in because I have to deal with these issues that I'm getting no support on.
Parents, I am begging you to listen to me. I'm a teacher, and there is a pattern I have noticed throughout my teaching career that it's not talked about enough. As a teacher, there is one thing that signals to me whether or not your child is going to be a behavior problem in my class for the entire year. It's not race, it's not gender, it's not religion, it's not their home life, whether or not they're in foster care, if they come from a split home, it's none of those things. All children at some point in time make dumb decisions. That's just part of life and part of growing up. But if every single time your child is getting in trouble, you are immediately jumping to their defense without question, verbally attacking the teacher, the principal, whoever, and refusing to hold them accountable for any reason whatsoever, you are setting your child up for a lifetime of disappointment, failure, and a whole lot of confusion. And of course, this type of behavior makes it really difficult on your child's teacher and everybody else in her classroom, but that's not even what I'm talking about. What I'm trying to tell you is that you are hurting your child by not making them take any responsibility, holding them accountable for nothing. If that goal of creating a good person is not mutual between the teacher and the parent of the child, there's only so much teachers can do. Learning how to be a good person, it has to happen at home.
Teachers across America are saying the same thing about Gen Alpha. If you've been teaching for a while, you've probably noticed that something feels different in the classroom. Teachers across America are talking about the same problems: behavior, lack of motivation, disrespect, screen addiction, and feeling like they're spending more time managing students than actually teaching. Now, obviously, this isn't every Gen Alpha student. There are still plenty of wonderful kids out there. But when so many teachers are describing the same experiences, I think it's worth listening. So today, let's hear directly from teachers about what's happening in their classrooms, and I'll share some of my own thoughts along the way.
These kids are horrible. Horrible. They don't care about learning. The parents don't hold them accountable. They don't make their kids hold themselves accountable. The admin does not hold the parents of the children accountable. They say they hold the kids accountable, but they go to the office and they come back and they do the same thing. It's awful.
I've never had classes behave this poorly. Even kinder students behave better than this. So next thing, do you know how hard it is to get kicked out of my class? Like, unbelievably difficult. But second period, we're taking attendance, everyone's standing on their numbers, and he kicks a soccer ball as hard as he can and hits someone in the back. And I'm like, dude, what was that about? He goes, oh, sorry, sir, I'm sorry. I'm like, all right, like, everyone gets one mistake, right? Then we're doing laps on the track, we're playing soccer, we're playing football. Should be an easy day. And I watch him pick up a football, look directly at three girls that are walking along the track. He picks it up and just hucks it at them. And it happens to hit a girl straight in the back of the head. And I'm like, dude, like, let's go, you're done. Like, so I radio in on the walkie-talkie, can I have a student removed, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what, mister, I didn't do it. I said, buddy, I just watched you do it. He goes, no, that was someone else. I said, oh, okay, who was it? Oh, I don't know. I said, but it was you. I watched you do it. He goes, no, it wasn't me, mister. It wasn't me. I'm like, man, you're going to the office. And luckily, the supervisor came out. He goes, dude, you're so fun. And he was like cussing me out. I'm like, all right, man, have a good one. And that same period, the boys are getting dressed in the locker room. They're like slamming lockers and getting super hectic. So I'm like monitoring, making sure they like stop doing that, like trying to get them out of the locker room. Like, let's go. And the start of third period comes, and one of the kids is like, hey, mister, there's like a clog in the toilet. I'm like, of course, perfect. So I look in the bathroom. It wasn't a clog. Someone grabbed a cone, stuffed it in the toilet, and then used the bathroom through the traffic cone. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? And it's just like, this is why I don't like to teach middle school.
I think one thing that's important to say here is that teachers have always dealt with difficult behavior. That's nothing new. Kids test boundaries. They make mistakes. Sometimes they do stupid things. That's part of growing up. What seems to be frustrating these teachers is what happens afterward. If there's no consequence, or the parent immediately defends the child, or the teacher somehow ends up being blamed, then what is the teacher supposed to do?
Why do y'all's kids feel like they don't have to respect the rules and regulations of the classroom? I made a seating chart. I make seating charts every time my kids take a major test. So they had a seating chart at the beginning of the year. They just took their summative exam. I made a new seating chart based off their data. I'm a teacher. That's what we're supposed to do, right? Why do your kids feel like they can come into my classroom and sit wherever they want to? Now, I've had years in prior, like last year, where I had students who would come in and do their work, and then the days they knew were like a little bit more laid back, lax days, they're like, hey, Ms. Blackwell, can I go sit and, beside this friend? Absolutely. Because this is the thing. Those kids did their work, right? They did their work. So I didn't mind my kids last year that asked if they could go sit with a friend. That was fine because a lot of the times they did their work. I didn't have any issue with them talking, none of that. This year, I have kids that just come in, sit where they want. And not only are they sitting where they want, they're sitting where they want and they're running their mouths. They're not doing their work and they're talking, disrupting the whole class. Why y'all not teaching these kids any level of respect? I've never been this tired in my life. I am actively looking for a way out of education, because when I say education is in the trenches, along with everything else going on in the world right now, I don't have the mental capacity to deal with y'all's bad kids because y'all don't want to be a parent and y'all don't want to give them any sort of discipline at home. I am done. I am exhausted. From destroying my things in the classroom to not following rules and regulations to skipping class. And I get kids have done this for years, but when I tell you it's like times 10 now, it's times 10. I'm done.
This also explains why we're seeing so many teachers talking about burnout. It's not always one huge incident that makes someone want to leave teaching. Sometimes it's 100 small battles every single day. Sit down, put your phone away, stop talking, open your book, please do the assignment, go back to your seat. And you're repeating these things over and over again when all you really want to do is teach.
You're not gonna believe what the student did to me today at school. This actually happened during passing period. I had just greeted my students at the door and I was speaking to another student of mine about some missing assignments that she had. She was standing right next to me. Again, we were standing still at the door. The student was in the hallway and I was standing right by my door. When I see another student pass by me right in front of me and he goes into my class, mind you, he is not a student of mine, so I immediately asked him to leave my class and to please go to his correct class. He knew exactly where he needed to be and he made the choice to come into my classroom. As he is finally exiting, he decides to stop right in front of me where I'm standing at the door. And you guys already know I'm only 3 feet 3 inches tall. Now, these are students who are about to go into high school. This student is very, very tall and he gave me no personal space. And what I mean by that was that he intentionally stood right in front of me and we were probably about 2 inches away from him rubbing his private parts in my face. And he did this with a smirk on his face. So I know for a fact that he did it intentionally. This was no accident. He had plenty of space to walk on the side of the door. But instead, he chose to stand right in front of me, look down on me, and almost rubbed his parts on me. I did not even put my hand in front of him or anything. I instead went back like this because I didn't want to be accused of me touching his parts. So instead, I went like this. And the other student who was speaking to me actually told him, dude, that's gross, because she saw what happened. She was my witness. Anyways, I said a lot of things to him and I asked him to please step away from me and to not ever come back into my classroom. He, of course, denied it and went finally into his classroom. I immediately called the teacher that I knew had him, and I gathered the information to call home. And this is why I'm making the video. It is so important that parents do their part. I want to tell you as a teacher, I will never take time out of my day to call and lie about your child, ever. And you best believe most teachers will never do that. Okay? So if I'm taking the time out of my day to call you, it's because this actually happened.
I've experienced this myself. You can prepare a great lesson, have everything ready to go, and then spend half the class just trying to get everyone settled. Do that every day for months or years, and eventually it takes a toll.
Today I did something as a teacher that I told myself I was never gonna do. And I really think that only teachers will understand, because this sounds so bad when I say it, but I don't know what else to do in these situations. And I hate to be that person, but when I was in high school, 2015, 2019, I do not remember a singular class I was ever in where kids did did this to the teacher. And I'm not kidding. Like today, I'm just now realizing, I'm like, this is an every week occurrence in my class, I'm pretty sure. With every assignment, everything that we do, this happens at least once a week where kids just don't want to do it. And instead of just being like, oh my God, like I feel like when I was in high school, kids would be like, bro, if we were like annoyed with something. But most of the time we didn't really do that because it's like we're in school. What else would we be doing besides work? Like, what do you mean it's school? Anyway, I get that it's the end of the year. Teachers are burnt out. Kids are burnt out. They are so tired of testing and they're just teenagers. I get that. If you know me, you know my whole driving force of teaching is loving your students. But this year has taught me that that's just not enough sometimes. You can love them and they can love you so much. They feel like they can talk however they want to, do whatever they want to, treat however they want to. And I'm learning this year that there really is a very healthy balance of loving them and also being strict and not tolerating things. And this is my fault because this is the end of the year and this should not still be happening, but it is. And I'm honestly just now realizing it. So we have 8 days of school left at this point. We're reading the graphic novel for the Odyssey. We're doing whole class reads, some independent reads. Like we're talking about it every day. I'm talking them through every single book. Every day on the daily agenda slide, it has said reading quiz on Friday. And this is just necessary for me to see where they're at. But not only that, they need to see where they're at. This quiz should be very easy. It's 20 multiple choice questions. If they think this is easy, then they're good. They're on the right track. They're going to do great on our last 2 big grades. Mind you, this is the end of the year. I was like, if it's hard for you, then you know you need to take this book home, read it, watch some summary videos. I'll link them on Daily Agenda Slide. Like you need to take it home and you need to read because we're finishing this next week. And these are your last 2 grades in my class and they're big grades based on the book. So today it's time for their quiz. And like some classes, it's fine. They take the quiz, like it's whatever. And then other classes, it's just not 2, not 5, like 10 to 20 to 30 kids just yelling at me all at once. And sometimes they wonder when I get in bad moods. And I'm like, I just want anyone to imagine that many people just yelling at you. You're one person standing up in front of the room. Everyone else is sitting down, directing all of this at you for doing your only job. And I tolerate it. Like I tolerate this all year. And today was just the first time I realized that this is crazy. Like, why do I let this happen every week? So they're all shilling like, oh my God, this is so dumb. Like, why did they do this? Like, oh my God, like yelling at me. This is so stupid. Like, wow, like, why are we doing this? And like always, at first I was like, y'all, like, I know it's so annoying. And I explained all that. I explained to y'all, it's like reading check, go in the grade book as a daily assignment grade, like not a quiz grade. And then I was about to hand the quizzes out and people were still just like kind of yelling at me. And I finally just paused and I looked at all them and I was like, if you don't want to do this quiz, then don't do it. Like take the 0. You're old enough now. You're in high school. I can't make you do this. I'm not your parent. I can't grab the pencil for you. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Take the 0 and fail. But stop yelling at me. Do it or don't, but stop yelling at me. I don't know what else to do. And if I would have heard that a teacher told kids that like a year ago, I'd be like, oh my God, that's just not the way to go about it. Like you need to love them. I do. And like these are things that they do not prepare you for when you're student teaching or when you're going into education. What do you do when 10, 15, 20 kids are all yelling at you at once and this is a weekly occurrence? You can't write them all up. You can't call home and be like, hey, your kid sometimes like just yells at me. I don't have time to call all those parents. I'm too drained by the end of the day. And it's like, I'm just going to go home. It's just time to go home. I just want to get home or I'm not around this anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, what else are you supposed to do? Like, I don't know what else to do, but just to be like, okay, you win. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Sure enough, all of them did it. Like they stopped complaining. They all did it and they stopped complaining. And I'm like, again, this is my fault. This is the end of the year and they should know they should not talk to me that way, but they don't know that. So that is my fault.
I don't think it's fair to simply say Gen Alpha is a bad generation. Kids are products of the world they're growing up in. Think about how much has changed. Smartphones, social media, short form videos, the pandemic, changes in parenting, and even changes in how schools handle discipline.
I was ready to be paid absolutely nothing. I was ready to have to figure out how to teach to a test and also to teach to my students' needs. I was ready for parents to be either accusatory, unreliable, or outright hostile. I was ready for kids to not like school and to act out in normal kid ways, and I was prepared with fidgets and natural consequences and building relationships. But the system was not prepared for the volume and the scale of behaviors that they are seeing right now. At my school, we had 1, 2, 3 levels of intervention, and every single kid, if you followed the chart, would hit the top of the intervention plan. And those interventions are so time consuming that they're not designed to be done on every single kid in a grade. And in my school, we had grades where 70-80% of the kids should have been in intensive counseling. They were sometimes active dangers to themselves and others, and you couldn't get them removed until something had happened and it was already too late.
It's the first week of school, and I've already had a student removed from my room. And I'm not even sure why, but I think, according to admin, that the student was removed from my room because the student went home and told the mom that I embarrassed him in front of his friends. So I had to think, I got great kids. I didn't have not one problem all week with all 24 of my kids. They're smart, they're nice, we had fun all last week. We even celebrated 2 birthdays already. So I'm like, why would he go home and say that? And then it hit me. He's a really good mathematician. And I told him that. There were about 2 or 3 of them that were really great at the math I was giving them. The 4th grade math. They mastered the 3rd grade math, and I started throwing, more difficult problems at them, and they were getting it. And I was so excited. So I told everybody in front of the whole room how amazing these 3 or 4 students were, and that they also were going to be amazing at 4th grade math. I clapped, I hugged them, I gave them stickers. I think I gave them airheads. So I celebrated this child in front of the whole class. I made him feel special in front of the whole class, and maybe that made him uncomfortable, and he went home and told his mom that I made him feel bad and embarrassed him. So instead of calling me and asking me what happened, because the kid he's nice, he's the sweetest kid and smart. So when I got the call that he was going across the hall to the other teacher, I'm thinking, what did I do in these 7 days to make him want to go home and say that? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Why didn't anybody ask me what I said or did? Why didn't anybody ask me what happened? Because that's what happened. I celebrated about 3 or 4 students. I gave him little certificates and stickers and candy, and he was embarrassed by that. He went home, told his mom, I embarrassed him. Mom called school. Admin said, pulled him right out. Didn't call me. Didn't ask me what happened, because in their mind, here we go again. Because, every 30 to 60 business days, somebody's complaining about me for something. Last year, I had a kid who was sleeping all the time. After the parent said that they would partner with me and get the child to bed, I demanded the kid wake up and do his work, and that was a problem. So he had to leave the room. Another year, I had another kid refuse to pick up a pencil and do any work. I'm seeing that there might be some trauma involved. So instead of partnering with me, working with me, because I demanded that, the child at least pick up a pencil and write his name, kid had to leave the room, because you can't ask kids to pick up a pencil. You can't ask kids to wake up. You can't celebrate kids for their achievement, right? Public school system, count your days. I will not be here for long. This is absolutely ridiculous. And just the last 7 days, the things that have happened and the things that they're requiring us to do in my 24 years of education, count your days. I will not be teaching in this classroom for much longer. And trust me, I'm not going to slip out the back door like most folks. I'm not going to go across the street to the next school. I don't make linear moves like that. When I'm out of here completely. I will not be teaching for much longer, because it's ridiculous. It's a joke. You can't teach. You can't celebrate kids. You can't demand excellence. You can't do anything. So that's what I'll be doing. Since I can't do anything, that's what I'll be doing. A whole lot of nothing. And you know what? It'll be your loss, because I'm phenomenal.
Kids today are growing up in a completely different environment than we did. And teachers are seeing the results of those changes firsthand. So when teachers from completely different schools and backgrounds keep describing the same problems, I don't think we should just dismiss it as teachers complaining. We should probably start asking why.
I had a 4th grade student who refused to be in the classroom. He would run away constantly. And when we did get him into the school, he would be incredibly destructive. He destroyed my office. He bit me in the stomach and gave me all kinds of bruises. When we talked to the mom was like, I have no idea. He never acts like this at home. Sound familiar? We have a mass exodus of teachers leaving the profession because of parents and student behavior. Let's break that down a little bit. These kids are addicted to screens. They're addicted. Study after study shows that kids 3 to 5 that spend more than 2 hours on a screen in a day have significantly more physical aggression, hyperactivity, and not following directions or rules or anything like that. We also know that kids who have high amount of screen time also cannot regulate their emotions. The schools cannot fix this. This is a parent-child issue. What are we doing about it? Kids are 2 years behind, and they also have not had any social etiquette or social construct around them to function in. I thought this was bad 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, we are not ready for this.
After hearing from all these teachers, I'm really curious about your experience. If you're a teacher, have you noticed a change in student behavior over the last few years? And what do you think is causing it? And if you're a parent or student, I'd love to hear your perspective too. I still believe teaching can be one of the most rewarding jobs in the world, but teachers need support, boundaries, and the ability to actually teach. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.